would like to talk about what not to do in your fall garden. I have 7 mistakes that we can very easily make, and so let's clear some things up as to what is good or bad as we transition our gardens into fall. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. If you do find this video to be helpful, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a like as well. Mistake number 1, to fertilize or not to fertilize? That is the big question. When do we stop fertilizing? Do we keep going the whole way as long as our plants are alive? What do you think? Okay, well, mistake number 1 is fertilizing for too long. We want to stop fertilizing our perennials, our shrubs, and our trees 6 weeks before our average first frost date. 6 weeks. Whereas annuals and cold hardy veggies and things like that, we can keep fertilizing them the whole time because they are going to eat it up and thrive with fertilizer. Now let's talk about some fertilizer types. For our perennials, our shrubs, and our trees, we want to switch right now to a slow release fertilizer like this. Basically, we do not want to be pushing out tender new growth on our perennials, for example, because as soon as frost hits, that's going to be the first thing that gets zapped. So instead, we're beginning to back off. We could do a slow release fertilizer, and then we can stop fertilizing altogether again 6 weeks before our average first frost date. Now, here in zone 8, coastal North Carolina, my first average frost is around Thanksgiving. So I am going to stop fertilizing in mid-October, which brings us to the wonderful question of our water soluble fertilizers. Now, these are both the fertilizers that I use myself, and of course you can get them online even if you can't find them in your stores right now. I use Miracle Grow, which is a water soluble fertilizer, and I use this throughout the growing season as long as my plants are not in severe heat stress. Well, I am going to continue to use my water soluble fertilizer on my annuals and cold hardy vegetables all the way until frost kills them, because those guys want to eat up that fertilizer. Again, I am going to stop using this now though on my perennials, on my trees and my shrubs, and I'm just popping over to slow release fertilizer. And that's going to be my annuals that are inside of containers or inside of my actual landscape. I'm going to keep feeding them up until frost takes them away. Mistake number 2. Don't leave diseased plants in your landscape. It is tempting to just want to let plants that have suffered to just die out naturally in the garden. But if they have suffered from powdery mildew or black spot or other diseases, don't let them stay in your gardening bed. You actually want to clean this out and toss it, and not in your compost bin. If you leave diseased plant material in your garden bed, you could be setting yourself up for problems next year. Mistake number 3, don't overwater. With cooler nights and shorter days, our plants are not nearly as thirsty as they were during the brutal heat of summer. So if you have irrigation, dial that back. If you have plants that are in containers, make sure you're not overwatering those. Make sure they are draining properly. Overwatering now is one of the fastest ways to cause root rot, especially for our plants in our containers. So mistake number 4, don't skip mulching. A lot of people think that mulching is only a spring project. It is actually not. We do not want to leave the roots of our plants uninsulated during the time they want the most protection. So we want to keep our weeds at bay during the fall and winter time. We want to make sure again that our plants' roots are insulated. We're holding in moisture. We're holding in a warmer temperature. And you know what? Here's a really interesting thing. If you are pushing the zone on certain plants that you have in your garden, for example, these caladiums are really not zone 8 loving plants. They're more like maybe 9, possibly even 10, but I have attempted to overwinter them before, and what I do to make that happen is I add extra layers of mulch over their root system to protect them, and guess what? They survived and came back again. So anything that you are pushing the limits on their zone, think about really protecting them with extra layers of mulch over those root systems and see if you can't make those plants come back as perennial for you. So no, mulching is not only a spring project. We know that fall is an awesome time to plant. However, another mistake that a lot of people make is planting too late. So the rule of thumb for planting is you want to get your plants into the ground 6 weeks before your average first frost. Now the reason is because right now our soil is warm, our air is cool. That is great to get our plants established into the ground and start those roots feeling really good and solid in there. But if we plant too close up to when it's going to frost on them, you really risk killing those plants. So keep 6 weeks before your average first frost in mind. Again, here in southeastern North Carolina, I'm in zone 8B. Mine is Thanksgiving, so we expect our first frost around Thanksgiving, which means I should be done planting right around mid-October. So that's twice now we've mentioned that same date. I want to be done planting by mid-October, and I also want to stop fertilizing my perennial shrubs and trees mid-October. Mistake number 6, don't forget about the pests. We often think that as our days get a little bit cooler, that the pests are going to just go away. These bugs that have plagued our plants throughout the growing season don't just end. For example, aphids and mealybugs, which are the two bugs that I have the biggest problem with in my garden, their life cycles do not end in the fall. In fact, because I have a very mild fall, my days still stay very mild, those bugs continue to thrive. Now, trust me when I say I know how disappointing that is to think that the bugs could still be plaguing our plants, especially after I had such a problem with mealybugs attempting to take down all of this Coleus alley in my shade garden. One of the things you can do to protect yourself against the bugs continuing right now, neem oil. Spray your plants down with neem oil. Interrupt the life cycles of the plants of the bugs that are plaguing your plants. Insecticidal soap would be another option to use. Dawn dish soap plus water would be something else you could use. Give a strong blast of hose water onto your plants. I have done that when the infestation is not so bad and you can actually get those bugs completely off of your plant. However, if your infestation is continuing to be strong, like still coming out of summer, use these other sort of things. I think I forgot to mention isopropyl alcohol, just regular rubbing alcohol on like a cotton swab or something can also be used if you don't have a major infestation and you're just trying to reach like some of the mealybugs, etc. That was something that I also used that I found effective. So these are products, again, you can order these things online if you can't find them in your stores right now. Rubbing alcohol, you're always going to find, but you understand. And number 7, don't do everything the hard way. The fall gardening season is supposed to be about enjoyment, about the peace, the coziness, the love of gardening that we cherish, that we had been looking forward to last winter, that we made all the magic happen throughout the growing season this year, and now it's time to start slowing down. So for example, use tools that can help you get the job done. I had made a little joke in one of my videos about using a blowtorch to get rid of some of the grass growing into a stone pathway that I had, and some people reached out and said that they actually have big blowtorches for jobs like that, not little tiny ones that take a lot of time to get the work done, but a bigger one. Perhaps that might be something that you could look into, for example. We talk about propagating plants on this channel all the time. You know I love to do that. I encourage you to do it in order to save your gardening budget, but don't think you have to propagate everything. You don't. Take it easy, pick some of your favorite plants like Coleus, and maybe think about propagating that. Again, the reason we would try to propagate now is because Coleus is a tender plant. It's going to die back for the winter here in North Carolina. And if I want to have any of those plants for next year as well, I'm going to have to keep them protected. But I want to save space inside my home or wherever I'm overwintering these plants, and so I would take cuttings of the Coleus to root inside my house or inside my greenhouse. But again, I'm saving room by just rooting cuttings and not the whole plant. So pick your favorite things and choose to propagate those. And yes, this time of year is when we're also thinking about what we can overwinter. What do we have space for? What do we have time for? Do we even have time to look over our plants, feed them, water them, keep them clipped, make sure they don't have bugs and all of that during the winter? Or do we want to use winter as a break? I know for me, I am choosing not to overwinter certain things that I have done in the past because I'm saving my greenhouse space for my more expensive plants, like my bougainvillea, which I got some new varieties this year. I want that plant to be overwintered because it's a little bit more expensive than some other things that I've brought into the greenhouse before. So we're just trying to be smart and not be so hard on ourselves. I hope that I've given you some brand new information with this video, and information that you can use to your benefit and your garden's benefit. As I said, please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on social media, and until next time, you guys, happy fall planting.